The ship broke through the clouds of the alien world. Engines hummed low, casting a dull echo across the empty sky. Inside, Ambassador Daniel sat still, eyes fixed on the glowing surface below. He had traveled across the stars, chosen to be the first human to speak with this strange alien race. 1,000 questions filled his mind. But no answers waited, only silence. The ship landed with a soft hiss, dust rising in the foreign air. Daniel stepped down slowly, boots pressing against ground that felt alive. The soil shimmered faintly, as if light was hidden beneath its skin. Around him, tall structures rose like towers of glass and bone. They bent toward the sky, almost breathing, as if the city itself watched him. Then, shadows moved, figures approached. Dozens of them, all tall, graceful, and silent. Daniel's breath caught when he saw they were all women, or at least female in shape. They wore long robes of pale silver, each step making their garments ripple like water. Their faces were calm, their eyes glowing with strange light, not anger, not joy, but something deeper, something unreadable. The air grew heavy. Daniel felt his chest tighten, as though the planet itself weighed on him. The aliens formed a half circle, leaving space in the center for him to stand. No words came from them, no music, no sound, only silence, as if the universe itself held its breath. Then it happened. One by one, the aliens lifted their robes, raising them high in unison. Daniel froze, heart racing, his mind burning with shock. Was this insult, threat, or greeting? They revealed not weapons, not scars, but what they called their hidden charms. Symbols drawn across their skin in glowing blue lines. The patterns pulsed with light, alive, almost breathing like fire under the flesh. Daniel swallowed hard. Every instinct told him to step back, but his training whispered stay calm. He knew one wrong move could mean disaster. The aliens watched him closely, eyes bright, waiting for his response. His heart pounded louder than the silence. He realized this was no random act. It was ritual. Still, fear gnawed at him. What if his reaction meant insult? What if bowing meant weakness? What if standing tall meant aggression? Every option was dangerous, and yet doing nothing was worse. A memory flickered in his mind. His instructors had warned him, alien cultures may show trust by exposing what they hide. Perhaps this was not shame, but honesty, not seduction, but openness. But could he risk being wrong? The translator device at his belt gave no sound, unable to explain. It was only him, his heart, and their eyes. The leader stepped forward. She was taller than the rest. Her robe lined with dark symbols, her glow brighter, her gaze locked with Daniel's. Sharp and endless, her voice broke the silence, low and melodic. "Human," she said slowly. Words bent by alien tone, yet clear. "Do you see our truth, Daniel?" Felt sweat on his forehead. He opened his mouth, but no words came at first. He forced himself to breathe, slow and steady. "Yes," he said, voice firm though his heart trembled. "I see your truth." A whisper moved through the group, like wind through glass. The women lowered their robes again, moving in perfect unity. Their eyes softened. Yet suspicion lingered. Daniel felt a weight lift, but only slightly. He had passed the first test, but the danger was not over. The leader tilted her head, studying him as if his soul were a book. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, one that carried no warmth. "You walk among us now," she said. "But know this, human, every step will be judged. Every word will be weighed. You have entered not as guest, but as trial." Daniel's blood ran cold. The silence returned, heavy, crushing. The circle broke, and the aliens turned, leading him toward the heart of the glowing city. Each step felt like walking deeper into the unknown. Every instinct screamed to run. Yet his duty chained him forward. The strange lights of the alien towers reflected in his eyes. The ritual was over, but the real test had only begun, and in the shadows above, unseen by him, other eyes watched, colder, darker, waiting for him to fail. The path through the alien city was narrow and glowing. Tall crystal towers bent inward as if they listened, their surfaces shining with pale fire. Daniel followed the leader, each of her steps silent yet commanding. Behind him, the line of alien women walked with perfect unity, their eyes fixed on him like hunters watching prey. The air was heavy with silence. Daniel's ears strained for sound, but there was nothing, no wind, no birds, no life outside the figures around him. It was as if the world itself held its voice, waiting for something unseen. He wanted to ask questions, but his training kept him quiet. In diplomacy, words at the wrong time could be daggers. At last, they reached a great hall carved into the heart of a crystal tower. The doors opened by themselves, sliding upward with a low hum inside. The chamber glowed blue and silver. Symbols etched into the walls pulsed with slow light. It felt alive, as though the building itself breathed. The alien leader stopped at the center, turning to face him, her gaze sharp. "You wonder about our greeting," she said, her voice soft yet heavy. Daniel's heart skipped. Her words were not accusation, but they carried weight. "Yes," he admitted carefully. "I did not understand it." The leader's eyes glowed brighter. "Our kind has no false faces," she said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "We greet by revealing what is hidden. We expose our charms, the marks of our soul." She lifted her robe slightly, showing once again the glowing lines upon her skin. "They are not flesh, but truth, the light within us." Daniel's mind raced, so it was not insult, not shame, but something far more sacred. These symbols were not decoration, they were life itself. To them, hiding such marks would be a greater shame than showing them. He felt a small wave of relief, yet danger still pulsed around him. "Why show this to me?" Daniel asked carefully. The leader's expression sharpened, her eyes narrowing like blades. "Because we test you," she said. "Your kind comes speaking of peace. But words are smoke, easy to twist. Only when you see what we are, only when you face what cannot be hidden, can you claim friendship." Her words rang heavy. Daniel understood then. This was not welcome, but a trial. He was not an honored guest. He was being judged. One mistake, one misstep, and the hope of peace would burn. The silence deepened. The circle of alien women around him did not blink, their glowing eyes unbroken. He felt the weight of their stares pressing into his chest. This was no simple ritual. This was a test of his soul. Daniel straightened his back. He could not show fear. He could not show doubt. "I respect your truth," he said slowly, his voice low but steady. "I may not fully understand, but I will not insult what is sacred to you." The leader studied him for a long moment. Her lips curved into something close to a smile. Yet it was cold. "You are cautious," she said. "Caution is wise, but sometimes wisdom hides fear." Daniel's heart pounded. He could feel the test was not over, not yet. She raised her hand, and the chamber shifted. The glowing lines on the walls pulsed faster, brightening until they filled the room with light. From the floor, new shapes rose, crystal thrones forming in silence. The alien women sat, surrounding him like a council. At the center, the leader remained standing, her gaze unbroken. "You must understand more," she said. "Your kind hides behind stone, steel, and silence. But we expose, we reveal, we lay our truth bare to the sky." Her hand stretched toward him, fingers glowing faintly with the same lines. "Will you reveal something in return, human?" Daniel froze. Reveal what? He thought, his mind racing. The translator gave no help. The gesture was too alien. What did they want? His history, his secrets, his weakness. If he said nothing, they might see it as insult. If he spoke too much, they might see weakness. The silence in the chamber grew louder than thunder. Every alien eye was fixed on him, glowing like stars in the dark. Daniel felt the sweat run down his back. His heart told him this was the true test. Not words, not bows, but honesty. Slowly, he placed his hand on his chest. His voice trembled at first, but steadied as he spoke. I am human, and humans are not perfect. We make mistakes, we fear, we doubt, but we also hope, we dream, we fight to protect. That is what I reveal to you." The chamber fell silent. The light dimmed, pulsing slow again. The leader's gaze softened. Though shadows lingered in her eyes, she stepped closer, her presence like a storm held in silence. "You speak of imperfection," she said. "Perhaps that is the truth we seek. Perhaps that is the bond we test." But then her voice dropped lower, colder. "Remember this, human. Our people judge with patience, but patience has limits. Reveal falsehood once, and no truth will ever save you again." Daniel felt his chest tighten. The council of alien women rose slowly, their robes rippling like waves. The leader turned away, motioning him to follow. The trial was not yet over. He had survived the first meaning of their strange greeting, but greater tests waited in the shadows of this city. And as they walked deeper into the alien world, Daniel realized one truth. He had not come to speak for peace. He had come to survive a trial of souls. The great hall was silent. Daniel stood in the center, his heart beating like a drum in the still air around him. The alien council sat on their crystal thrones, their glowing eyes locked on him. He had spoken of human imperfection, of truth and weakness, but he knew it was not enough. They were waiting for his next move, waiting for his true reply. The leader remained standing, her silver robe glimmering in the shifting light. Her gaze burned through him, sharp and endless. "Human," she said, her voice echoing across the chamber. "You have heard our truth, now speak yours. But beware. False words weigh heavier than silence." Daniel took a deep breath. His mind raced through his training, through every lesson drilled into him back on Earth. Never insult, never show fear, never lie. But what did honesty mean here? In a place where every gesture could be a weapon. He closed his eyes for a moment, steadying his thoughts. When he opened them, he spoke slowly. "Your greeting showed me more than I expected. You revealed what is hidden. You showed me your soul. I cannot greet you in the same way. My body carries no glowing lines. But I will reveal something else, something from within." The aliens leaned forward, their glowing eyes narrowing with interest. The leader tilted her head, silent, waiting. Daniel's voice grew firmer. "I reveal my loyalty. Humans may fear, humans may stumble, but we stand for those we call allies. We fight not only for ourselves, but for those we promise to protect. If you trust us, if you accept us, then we will not betray you." The chamber grew tense. The words hung heavy in the air. Daniel's heart pounded. Had he said too much? Had he revealed weakness or strength? The alien council whispered among themselves, their voices low and melodic, like wind through glass. The leader raised her hand, and the whispers died at once. She stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. "You do not mirror our gesture," she said, her voice calm but sharp. "You do not lift your robe. You do not reveal the same way. And yet, you reveal through words, through promises." Her tone shifted slightly. Not anger, not joy, but curiosity. Daniel bowed his head slightly. "In my world," he replied, "a promise carries weight. To break it is to break honor, to destroy trust. My words are my revelation, my truth before you." For a long moment, the hall was silent. Then the leader's lips curved into the faintest smile. Not warm, but thoughtful. "You choose a different path," she said slowly. "Perhaps that is your way. Perhaps that is the human truth." The aliens murmured again. Some nodded softly, but others frowned, their eyes glowing darker. Daniel felt the divide. Some accepted his reply, others doubted. He realized he had not ended the test, he had only deepened it. The leader lifted her hand, and the chamber shifted. The glowing lines on the walls pulsed again, brightening and dimming like a heartbeat. She raised her robe once more, revealing the glowing patterns across her skin. But this time, she stepped closer to Daniel, close enough for the light to fall upon him. "Do you see?" she asked her voice low. "This is not only greeting, this is memory. This is history written on flesh. Every mark is our life. Every glow is our truth. We share it with you, human, and in return, we take your words as test. Daniel's chest tightened. He bowed deeply, not in fear, but in respect. I see, he said, his voice steady. I cannot show the same marks, but I show my respect. I honor your truth, and I give mine in return. The leader studied him for a long time. At last she lowered her robe, her eyes still glowing with unreadable light. Then you have replied, she said. Not with skin, not with marks, but with heart. We will see if your heart is enough. The council rose slowly, their robes rippling like waves. Some looked at him with acceptance, others with suspicion. Daniel felt both relief and unease. He had not failed, but neither had he fully succeeded. The path ahead was still uncertain. The leader raised her hand. Come, she commanded, her voice strong. There is more for you to see, more for you to understand. Your reply has begun your trial, but it has not ended it. Daniel followed as the council left the chamber. The walls glowed faintly behind them, as if the building itself whispered secrets. His mind raced. Had his reply been wise, or had it set him on a path he could not escape? He thought of Earth, of the people waiting for him, of the fragile hope of peace. If he failed here, it would not be only his failure, it would be humanity's. As he walked deeper into the alien halls, the silence pressed closer. Every step echoed louder than his heartbeat, and in the shadows above, unseen eyes still watched, some with curiosity, some with doubt, and some with hunger. The human had replied, but in this alien world, replies were never final. Every word was a beginning, every promise a wait. And Daniel knew the real test had only just begun. The hall opened into a vast chamber lit with glowing flames that were not fire, but streams of colored light. Crystals hung from the ceiling like frozen stars, scattering reflections across the walls. Long tables stretched in a circle, each covered with plates of food that shimmered as if alive. Daniel stepped inside slowly, his breath caught by the beauty and strangeness of it all. The alien women surrounded him once more, moving with silent grace. They took their seats in perfect order, their silver robes flowing like water. At the far end, the leader raised her hand, and the room pulsed with brighter light. This is the Feast of Firelight, she said, her voice carrying across the chamber. It is a place where we share not only food, but truth. Daniel sat where he was guided, his chair made of smooth crystal that shifted beneath him as if adjusting to his weight. Before him, a plate formed from the table itself. Glowing faintly blue, strange fruits appeared, translucent and filled with swirling mist. Drinks shimmered in tall glass-like vessels, glowing red and silver. The air was thick with scent, sweet, sharp, and unfamiliar. The leader lifted her cup, her eyes never leaving Daniel. The council followed, raising theirs in perfect unison. Daniel copied, lifting the glowing vessel to his lips. The liquid was warm, tasting of spice and fire, burning but strangely sweet. The aliens drank deeply, their glowing lines pulsing brighter with each sip. Food was passed, though no hands touched it. The dishes slid along the table as if guided by invisible threads. Daniel picked one carefully, a fruit that glowed like a captured star. When he bit into it, the taste burst like lightning, sweet and bitter. At once, it sent a shiver down his spine. But he kept calm. The leader's gaze sharpened. Do you know why we feast? She asked, her voice low. Daniel shook his head, careful to remain respectful. She leaned forward slightly, her glowing lines shifting like fire. We feast to test, she said. Food reveals truth, for nothing hides in taste. Some poison is sweet, some bitterness saves. The guest who eats reveals courage. The guest who refuses reveals fear. Daniel's heart tightened. So this was another test, not celebration. Each bite was a measure of trust, each drink a judgment. He forced himself to eat more, his throat burning, his chest heavy. But he did not stop. He would not stop. The council watched in silence, their glowing eyes never blinking. Some seemed impressed, others still suspicious. Daniel felt the weight of every gaze pressing into him like chains. He swallowed again, forcing the strange taste down. His mind whispered warnings. What if this was poison? What if this was trap? Yet he remembered his training. In diplomacy, trust was built not by comfort, but by risk. If he refused, they would call him coward. If he faltered, they would call him weak. He had only one choice: endure. The feast grew louder, though. No voices spoke. The food itself seemed to sing, glowing brighter, humming softly as it was eaten. The flames above shifted colors: red, blue, silver, gold, casting the room in ever-changing light. It felt less like a meal and more like a ritual. Every detail, every moment, was part of their judgment. At last, the leader rose from her seat, her robe flowing like silver fire. She looked down at Daniel, her eyes deep and unyielding. "You eat, you drink, you endure," she said slowly. "But endurance is not trust, and trust is not truth. Do you give us truth, human?" Daniel wiped his lips, his heart hammering. "Yes," he said firmly, though the burn in his chest still lingered. "I eat not because it is safe, but because I trust that you offer it. If I feared you, I would not be here. If I doubted you, I would not drink. This is my truth." The leader studied him in silence, her glowing eyes unreadable, her face calm. At last, she raised her hand, and the flames above flared gold. The council murmured, some nodding, some whispering. Daniel could not tell if he had succeeded or merely survived. The leader spoke again, her tone sharper. "Many came before. They spoke of peace, they spoke of unity, but their words were empty, their courage false. They ate nothing, they drank nothing. They gave nothing, and they left as shadows forgotten." Her gaze pierced into him. "But you human, you take risk, you give reply, you reveal courage. Perhaps you are different. Perhaps you are not. Time will decide." The feast ended not with noise, but with silence. The tables emptied themselves, the glowing food fading into mist. The vessels vanished, the flames above dimmed to silver. The alien women stood in perfect unity, their robes moving as one. The leader lowered her head slightly, a gesture that felt like both respect and warning. "You have shared our feast," she said, "but sharing is only the beginning. Tomorrow, you will face the chamber of truth. There, no words, no food, no drink will protect you. Only your soul will decide your fate." Daniel's chest grew heavy. He had survived another trial, but each step only led to deeper shadows. The city itself seemed to whisper in the silence, the walls glowing faintly as if alive. Every test was sharper than the last, every gesture a blade waiting to cut, and he knew the next trial would not only test his courage, but his very soul. The night came quietly over the alien city. The glowing towers dimmed, their light pulsing slower, as if the whole world was breathing in sleep. Daniel was guided through winding paths, deeper and deeper into the heart of the crystal structures. The leader walked before him, silent as ever, her robe trailing like silver mist across the ground. He felt the weight of the day pressing on him, the strange greeting, the trials of food and drink, the endless stares of glowing eyes. Yet this new path felt heavier still, filled with a silence that spoke of danger. The walls seemed to close in, glowing faintly, whispering with unseen energy. Daniel's every step echoed louder than he wished, a reminder that he walked into the unknown. At last, they reached a door unlike any other. It was tall, carved from black crystal that swallowed light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols were etched across its surface, glowing faintly red. The leader placed her hand on the stone, and the door melted away like smoke. Beyond it lay darkness, heavy and endless. "Enter," the leader said, her voice sharp and commanding. "This is the chamber of secrets, where truth is tested. You must walk alone, for no one may guide you here." Daniel hesitated, his throat dry, but he knew he had no choice. Every trial so far had been a step deeper into this test. If he turned away now, all hope of peace would die. He stepped forward, the black mist curling around him, swallowing him whole. Inside, the air was cold. The chamber stretched endlessly, though no walls could be seen. The floor glowed faintly under his feet, each step lighting a path that vanished behind him. It felt like walking on nothing, suspended in darkness. His chest grew tight, his breath shallow. Yet he kept walking. Then a voice spoke, low and distant. "Reveal," it whispered, echoing all around. Daniel froze, his eyes searching the darkness. But no figure appeared. The voice came again, stronger, sharper. "Reveal what you hide. Human, reveal your secret." His heart raced. This was no ordinary test. The chamber itself seemed alive. Pressing into his mind, he felt memories rising, unbidden, the past clawing at him, faces he had lost, choices he had buried. The chamber was not asking politely, it was tearing at him. He clenched his fists. "No," he whispered to himself. "I choose what I reveal." But the darkness thickened. The glowing floor flickered. The voice grew louder. No longer one voice, but many, echoing like a chorus. "Reveal, reveal," they demanded. Daniel fell to his knees, his mind filled with images. The war he had fought on Earth. The soldiers who had trusted him. The ones who never returned. The shame of command. The weight of lives lost because of his choices. He had buried it deep, hidden it under duty and silence. But here, nothing could stay hidden. Tears stung his eyes. His chest ached with the weight of memory. At last he whispered, his voice cracking. "I failed them," he said. "I failed my men. I promised to bring them home, but I could not. That is my truth. That is my secret." The chamber fell silent. The voices stopped. The darkness seemed to hold its breath. Daniel's heart pounded, his confession hanging heavy in the air. For a moment, he feared the floor would vanish, that the chamber would swallow him whole. But instead, the glowing path ahead brightened, stretching farther into the void. Slowly, he stood, wiping his eyes. The silence remained, but it felt different now, less heavy, more watchful. He walked forward again, each step steady. His secret had been revealed, torn from him, but it had not destroyed him. Perhaps that was the purpose of this place, not to kill, but to strip away lies. At the far end of the chamber, light appeared. A doorway of white glow opened. Cutting through the darkness, Daniel stepped toward it, his heart still heavy, yet strangely lighter. As he passed through, the black mist fell away, and he emerged back into the crystal city. The leader waited for him outside. Her eyes searched his face, reading him as easily as a book. "You entered with shadow," she said, "and you return with burden lifted." Daniel nodded weakly, his voice low. "You wanted truth, and the chamber took it." The leader's lips curved slightly, though not into a smile. "The chamber does not take," she said. "It only reveals. What you carried was yours. What you revealed was choice. Now we know more of you, human, and your trial deepens." Daniel's chest tightened again. Every step forward brought no safety, only more weight. He had revealed his secret, but in doing so he had given them power. Would they use it against him? Or would they see it as strength? He could not know, not yet. The leader turned, her silver robe glowing faintly in the dim light. "Come," she commanded, her voice echoing softly. "There is more to see, more to endure. The chamber is only the beginning. The true trial waits at dawn." Daniel followed, his legs heavy, his heart torn between relief and dread. The city glowed faintly around him, but its light felt colder now, sharper. Every tower, every symbol, every glance of alien eyes seemed to whisper, "Your truth is ours now. Your soul is open, and the trial has only begun." The dawn rose slowly over the alien city. The towers glowed with pale fire, their crystal bodies shifting in color as if waking from sleep. Daniel had not slept, his mind too heavy with the chamber's memory. The secrets he had revealed lingered inside him, raw and exposed, but now a new trial awaited, one that the leader had promised would decide his fate. The leader arrived as the sky turned silver. Her robe shimmered in the strange light. her glowing eyes sharper than before. She said no greeting, only a command. "Come," she spoke, her voice low but firm. "It is time for the trial of truth." Daniel followed, his chest tight. They walked through winding paths deeper into the city's heart. The air grew colder, heavy with an energy he could not name. At last they reached a circular plaza, vast and silent. At its center stood a great crystal pillar, taller than any tower, glowing with shifting light. Around the plaza, the alien council gathered, dozens of women in silver robes, their glowing eyes fixed on him. They formed a circle, their presence like an unbroken wall. The leader stepped forward, raising her hand. "The trial begins," she declared, her voice echoing like thunder. The pillar flared with light. From its surface, shapes formed, shifting, flickering, pulling at his mind. Daniel felt the air thicken. His breath caught in his throat. The world around him bent and twisted until he was no longer in the plaza. He stood instead inside a vision, sharp and real. He gasped. Before him lay the battlefield of his past, the smoke, the cries, the broken faces of soldiers he had once commanded. The memory tore through him like a blade. He could smell the fire, hear the screams, feel the blood on his hands. The leader's voice came from everywhere at once. "The trial of truth reveals what cannot be hidden. Your past, your fears, your choices. Show us who you are, human. Show us what truth lies inside." Daniel staggered, his knees weak. The faces of his fallen soldiers stared at him, accusing, silent, endless. He clenched his fists, his chest burning with guilt. "No," he whispered. "I did not abandon you. But the vision shifted. He saw himself standing still, frozen in command, orders delayed, hesitation costing lives. The trial twisted memory into blade, cutting deeper. "You failed," the voices whispered. "You failed them all." Daniel's heart cracked, tears burned his eyes, shame pressing into his soul. But he stood firm, his voice louder, stronger. "Yes, I failed," he cried. "I was not perfect. I was not strong enough. But I did not abandon them. I carried them. Even now I carry them still." The vision wavered, the battlefield trembling, the faces of the soldiers softened, fading slowly into light. Daniel's chest heaved, his breath heavy. The guilt remained, but his words had power. Truth had cut through the trial's lies. The leader's voice came again. "Truth is not only confession. Truth is strength. You faced your shadow, and you did not break. But the trial is not over." The vision shifted once more. Now he saw Earth, its shining cities, its blue oceans. But behind it, shadows rose, fleets of alien ships, fire raining upon the surface. He saw humanity broken, scattered, defeated, and then he saw himself standing among the ruins, alone. Fear clutched at his chest. The trial was no longer about the past, it was about the future. "Do you believe your people strong enough?" the voices asked. "Do you believe they deserve alliance? Or do you doubt them?" Daniel's throat tightened. He thought of Earth, of its wars, its mistakes, its fragile unity. But he also thought of its resilience, its courage, its ability to rise after every fall. His fear battled with hope, tearing him apart. At last he shouted, his voice echoing across the vision. "Yes, they are flawed, but they are strong. Yes, they are divided, but they are capable of unity. Yes, they have stumbled, but they will rise again. That is the truth of humanity, and I stand by it." The shadows trembled, the fleets burned away, the ruined cities faded into light, the vision cracked, shattering into fragments of glowing dust. Daniel fell to his knees, gasping, sweat dripping down his face. The trial of truth had torn him open, but he had endured. The light faded, and he was back in the plaza. The crystal pillar glowed faintly, its power dimmed. The council watched in silence, their eyes unreadable. At last the leader stepped forward, her face calm but her voice heavy. "You have walked through shadow and fear. You have shown failure and strength. You did not break. You did not lie. You have passed the trial of truth." Daniel's chest loosened, relief washed through him, though exhaustion weighed him down. But even as the words rang in the air, he knew the trial was not the end. The leader's eyes still carried shadows. The council still whispered among themselves. Victory was not yet his. Peace was not yet secure. The leader raised her hand. "Come," she said, her voice cold. "One final trial remains. The choice that will decide not only your fate, but the fate of your people." Daniel stood, his legs trembling. He followed her once more, deeper into the alien city. Each step heavier, each breath sharper. The trial of truth had tested his past, his fear, his hope, but the last trial would test something greater, his very soul. The path narrowed as Daniel followed the alien leader deeper into the glowing city. The towers bent inward, their light dimmer now, as though even the city itself waited in silence. Every step echoed like thunder in his ears, his body weak from the trial of truth, his mind heavy with what he had revealed. But he pressed forward, knowing the final trial awaited, knowing everything depended on what he chose next at last. They reached a vast chamber, unlike any he had seen before. The floor was carved of black stone, sharp and cold, while the ceiling glowed with swirling light that looked like stars. The alien council stood in a perfect circle, their robes shining silver, their glowing eyes fixed on him. The leader stepped into the center, her presence commanding, her voice sharp and steady. "Human," she said, her words carrying across the chamber. "You have walked through our greetings, our feasts, our chambers, and our truth. Now you face the final trial, the choice of unity." Daniel's chest tightened. He looked around, feeling the weight of dozens of alien eyes pressing down on him. "What choice?" he asked quietly, his voice steady despite his fear. The leader raised her hand, and the chamber shifted. From the black floor rose two crystal shapes, glowing with different colors. One pulsed red, sharp and fierce like fire. The other pulsed blue, calm and steady like water. "These are the paths," she said, "the path of separation and the path of unity." Her eyes glowed brighter. "If you choose separation, you walk free. You leave our world alive, but you leave without bond. Without alliance, your people remain strangers. If you choose unity, you bind your kind to ours. But unity demands sacrifice. It demands trust deeper than flesh. You will not walk away unchanged," the council murmured, their voices soft but filled with tension. Daniel's heart pounded, his mind racing. One path gave safety, the other gave danger. But only one path offered peace for humanity. He thought of Earth. He thought of the faces of the people he had sworn to protect, the families, the children, the fragile hope of survival. In a vast and dangerous galaxy, he could not return with empty hands. He could not return with nothing. If he chose safety, he would betray them. If he chose unity, he might lose himself, but he would give his people a chance. The leader stepped closer, her gaze piercing. "Choose," she said, her voice like thunder. "Choose now, for hesitation is death." Daniel's throat was dry. His hands trembled as he reached forward. He placed his hand on the blue crystal, the path of unity. The moment he touched it, the chamber exploded with light. The glow surged through his arm. Burning, searing, he gasped, his body shaking. The crystal pulsed, its light crawling into his skin. For a moment, he thought it would consume him, but then the pain shifted, turning to warmth, turning to weight. Glowing lines spread across his flesh, the same marks the alien women carried. They pulsed faintly, alive, breathing with him. Daniel staggered, staring at his arm, his chest, his skin glowing with strange light. He had been marked, changed, bound. The leader's voice filled the chamber. "You have chosen unity," she declared. "You carry our mark, our bond, our truth. Now you are seen not as stranger, but as one who reveals. Your kind will be judged by your choice, but they will be given chance." The council bowed their heads in perfect unity. Some eyes glowed bright with approval, others dim with doubt, but none spoke against the leader's words. The trial was complete. The choice had been made, Daniel breathed hard, his chest still heavy. He looked at the glowing marks across his skin. They felt strange, but they also felt alive. He realized he had not only spoken for humanity, he had become a bridge. He had given part of himself so that both peoples might walk together. The leader stepped closer, her eyes sharp but softer than before. "You have endured. Human," she said. "You have revealed truth, you have carried burden, and you have chosen sacrifice. You are marked now, not as servant, not as master, but as equal. May your people honor what you have done." Daniel bowed his head. "Then let this be the beginning," he said firmly. "The beginning of trust, the beginning of peace." The chamber pulsed with light, the stars above glowing brighter. For the first time since his arrival, Daniel felt a sense of hope. Fragile, uncertain, but real. The aliens lowered their robes, revealing their glowing marks once more. But this time, Daniel no longer felt shock. He understood he belonged. Yet as he looked around, he saw not only acceptance in the shadows of the council. Some faces still frowned, their eyes glowing dark. Not all welcomed him, not all trusted him. The path ahead would not be easy. The trials of unity had only begun. But Daniel knew he had chosen rightly, for peace, for trust, for the survival of his people. He would endure. And as the light of the chamber faded, as the city whispered its silent approval, one truth settled deep within him. The mark was not only theirs, it was his. The choice of unity was not the end of his journey. It was the first step of a story yet to come.